Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a topic that literally touches the absolute core of your existence. Think about this for a second. We've mapped out the entire observable universe, right? We've measured every single neuron in the human brain. And we've even managed to train machines to think and chat just like us. But despite all of those massive scientific breakthroughs, consciousness is still our absolute greatest mystery. So let's jump right in and explore the very nature of awareness itself.
Here's the big question. Why does it actually feel like something to be you? It's kind of a wild thought, isn't it? Why is there this little narrator inside your head, experiencing the story of your life as time moves forward? Philosophers, neuroscientists, and mystics have all basically landed on one really uncomfortable truth. Consciousness is not nearly as straightforward as it seems. It actually unfolds in distinct levels. And as we're going to see today, the deeper you go into these levels, the weirder and more fascinating things get.
All right, let's kick things off with level 1, deep sleep. Now, this is the most ordinary state. We slip into it every single night, but it is also profoundly mysterious. It's that moment you drop past the edge of thought into a void that is so entirely empty, even the concept of a void just completely vanishes. The world and your sense of self just dissolve. Now, there is a totally fascinating contrast between how science and philosophy look at this exact same state. Ask a neuroscientist, and they'll tell you deep sleep is the delta wave state. It's very physical, a super slow brain rhythm, pulsing at less than 4 cycles per second, where your nervous system resets, your tissues heal up, and memories consolidate. But philosophers, they look at it entirely differently. They see it as a kind of temporary annihilation. I love this. One thinker actually called it death being shy. It's basically the ground zero of consciousness, where experience itself just stops, and awareness folds all the way back into its source, kind of like a wave slipping back into the ocean. And that brings us to this really beautiful concept. Ancient texts like the Mandukya Upanishad call this state sushupti, where the self rests in a totally unmanifest form. Buddhist traditions actually consider this a sneak peek at nirvana. But here's the crucial takeaway. Even in that absolute pitch-black void, a tiny seed of consciousness has to still be there. Something inside you knows that nothing is happening. Because think about it. If it didn't, you'd wake up every morning completely panicked and confused about where the last 8 hours went. So there is a silent observer in there, just watching from behind the curtain.
Moving right along to part 2, constructing reality. We're stepping up a level now, moving out of the total darkness of deep sleep and into the spaces where the mind actually starts building worlds. So out of that darkness, little fragments of thought begin to stir, and entire universes get spun up entirely within the theater of your brain. Level 2 is dreaming. During REM sleep, you become completely unbound. And here is the staggering truth about dreams. The dreamer and the dreamer are literally one and the same. When you're dreaming, you are the laws of physics. You are the architecture. You're the only person there. Every single voice you hear in a dream is just your own mind talking back to you. You build an entire world, completely forget that you built it, and then wander around inside it as a character. It's wild. So how does that internal sandbox compare to level 3, our waking life? We all kind of assume waking life is the ultimate objective truth, right? Well, neuroscience tells us that waking life is heavily reliant on the brain's default mode network. That's the system translating billions of chaotic sensory signals into a 3D hallucination that is basically just consistent enough to keep you from walking into traffic. In reality, waking life isn't the opposite of a dream, it's really just the most persistent dream you have. It's a real-time simulation locked in by physical laws and the shared agreement of everyone else experiencing it with you. And hey, if you're skeptical that waking life is just a simulation, just look at nature. Cold-blooded animals literally see infrared light. Bats navigate through echolocation. Butterflies can detect magnetic fields. There are even humans with synesthesia who physically see shapes and colors when they hear a song. So how on earth can we claim that our specific human waking state is the absolute base reality? Cognitive scientists like Donald Hoffman and classic thinkers like Descartes and Kant hit the nail on the head. Our perception is really just a user interface. Our senses aren't there to show us absolute truth. They exist to hide the complex reality behind simple icons so we can survive. What we call reality is basically just a consensus hallucination. Now, for most people, that loop, deep sleep, dreaming, waking, is the whole show. But if we slow things way down and let the surface of the mind become completely still, we tap into some incredibly fascinating hidden layers. Let's look at the silent observer. Welcome to level 4. Transcendental consciousness. The Upanishads refer to this as Turiya, or the fourth state. In this level, your mind is awake, but it is utterly perfectly still.
That endless, noisy stream of thoughts that usually dominates your day just drastically slows down and then vanishes. Your attention turns completely inward, and it just rests on the source of awareness itself. You literally become aware of awareness, totally untouched by whatever chaos is happening in the outside world. And the coolest part? We can actually map this shift with science. Normally, when we're running around distracted, EEG readings show that the left and right hemispheres of our brains are totally asynchronous. Different regions are just firing off chaotically. But when you look at advanced meditators who are experiencing this transcendental state, the electrical signals across both hemispheres completely synchronize. The brainwaves literally line up like a massive orchestra playing in perfect harmony. The mind goes quiet, and that everyday brain chaos is replaced by pure physical coherence. You know that famous quote by René Descartes, "I think, therefore I am"? Well, level 4 basically flips that entirely upside down. In transcendental consciousness, the thinking totally dissolves, and yet the I am is still right there. You realize in this state that you were never your thoughts in the first place. You are just the silent space, the observer, where those thoughts happen to pop up. It is the profound discovery of what is left over when the world itself just fades away. Okay, but what happens when you take that profound, deep inner stillness and you open your eyes? That's when we step into the levels where inner silence perfectly overlaps with everyday waking reality. This brings us to level 5, cosmic consciousness. In this state, that deep stillness stays with you even as you're walking around, paying bills, or talking to friends. From a science perspective, this is a state of continuous meta-awareness. Your brain's frontal monitoring system is literally tracking your internal calm and the chaotic external world at the exact same time. Life just keeps happening, but you're witnessing it from a distance while still living it up close. Your emotions, your highest joys, and your deepest sorrows just become little ripples on this massive, unshakable ocean of calm. It's like you're the actor on the stage, but you're also sitting in the front row watching the play. And then awareness shifts into level 6, God consciousness. Neuroscience actually observes this as highly synchronized gamma activity in the brain. It's a state marked by profound compassion and awe. But human traditions throughout history have captured this feeling so beautifully. Whether you're looking at Satchit Ananda in Vedic texts, theosis for Christian mystics, or Ishq-e Hakiki in the Sufi tradition, they are all pointing to the exact same experience. That silent witness from level 5? It suddenly falls intimately in love with the universe. You don't just feel love. Love literally becomes the lens through which you perceive everything. The universe isn't some cold, dead machine anymore. It breathes, it vibrates, and every single ordinary moment just radiates with this sacred, living intelligence. Which finally brings us to our last stage, the ultimate return home. This is a state where even the concept of the witness disappears completely. This is level 7, unity consciousness. It is a state of total non-dual awareness. The boundary between you, the observer, and the world, the observed, just entirely collapses. Subject and object are gone. In this state, it's not that you just happen to perceive unity, you literally become the infinite consciousness that is flowing through all things. Time completely dissolves, and the past and future just collapse into this boundless, eternal present moment. This absolute highest here is what Vedanta calls the realization of Brahman, or what Buddhism calls sunyata, an emptiness that is somehow simultaneously full to the brim. It's the ultimate paradox, right? It's the drop of water that merges into the ocean, but somehow still remains a drop. At this final level, the seeker literally dissolves into the exact thing they were searching for. You suddenly realize that consciousness never actually had to climb anywhere. All of those levels we just went through, deep sleep, dreams, waking life, transcendence, they were all just different waves moving within the exact same infinite ocean. The ladder we thought we were climbing was actually just a circle, bringing us right back to the source. Science maps all these wild states through brainwaves. Philosophy tries to map them out using language. But really, both disciplines are just pointing to one glorious, unspoken mystery. Consciousness is not something we have. It is absolutely what we are. Your body's going to change, your thoughts are going to change, but the quiet awareness behind all that is eternal. Maybe consciousness doesn't actually emerge from the brain at all. Maybe the brain is just the instrument and consciousness is the musician playing it. Mystics have spent centuries calling this the Leela, the grand play of the divine. It's just the universe experiencing its own infinite reflection through every possible form, every mind that wakes up, and every single life that begins. So I want to leave you with a provocative thought to chew on today. Has the universe just been looking out through your eyes this entire time? Maybe there aren't 7 separate levels after all. Maybe there is just one single consciousness, appearing as many, dreaming as us, and simply exploring itself through you. It is a pretty profound perspective to carry with you into your everyday life. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and definitely keep questioning the reality right in front of you.